I'm going to give you a wildcard team for game week 13. Stay tuned. Remember, if you're getting a wildcard, you might as well press that button now if you're committed to it. Any price rises, your team will go up in value with it. There's even potential to make a profit, and you can remember change as many times as you want in that game week. But by not moving on players now, you may be priced out of a move for those players later on if you decide last minute to wildcard. That's not a reason to wildcard if you're unsure though. But if you are, press it now. Better to do it sooner rather than later. And let's have a look at those fixtures. There are some tough fixtures, but when we look at this wildcard, I'm not going to just take this game week in isolation. Let's have a look at the medium to longer term view up until Christmas and how that affects things. So let's jump in and let's have a look at the team. If you enjoy FPL content, click that subscribe button. We've got team selection videos, transfer tips coming up, but let's have a look at this wildcard side. First off then, let's have a look at the goalkeeping situation. Ben Foster just has to go in. His fixtures aren't particularly appealing, especially in the short term. And I'm not even sure when his fixtures are great, if I'd want to jump onto him. But I know he's nailed in that Watford side. So as a backup keeper, 4 million, dead cheap, always playing. If I have to play him, he can come in. I mean, that said, he's picked up some reasonable hauls lately. 5 points last game against Man U. 11 against Arsenal, was it, with the penalty save? So he's not a complete dead loss, but he's definitely a playing keeper that I'd want as backup. First choice keeper was very difficult. Number of choices. I think Guaita has just some wonderful fixtures there. The other options, you could go Ramsdale. I think, again, some of his fixtures look a bit difficult. Sanchez back in, so you could go for there. None of those I don't think would be poor options. But Palace, I mean, you've got some Leeds away, Villa not scoring that freely. Then you've got a difficult game away at Man U, Everton, Southampton, Watford, Tottenham, Norwich. There's potential for clean sheets and save points potential there as well. I quite like Guaita, but again, Sanchez, Ramsdale wouldn't be a ridiculous decision to go for those either. Okay, this is going to be a little bit controversial, but let's hit it. Nothing controversial about Rudiger. He's got 2 goals, 1 assist. He seems to be a linchpin, a mainstay in that Chelsea side. He has to be in there. He's about as nailed, I think, as anyone is in that Chelsea defence. He, surprisingly as well, I do think his assist potential looks good. Every time I see him and he's got that eye test, he's picking passes left, right and centre. Obviously, Chelsea's so tight as well. He just looks an absolute bargain and an absolute one of the first on the sheet. Cancelo, likewise, his XGI has really improved. 6.5, he's going up in value all the time, but picking up points in terms of assists, bonuses. Man City's fixtures look great coming up as well. He has to be in your side. Then I've got Reece James and Chilwell. I mean, the worry is that one of those doesn't play and gets rotated. At the moment, Tuchel seems to like them both. You're tripling up on that Chelsea defence. Even I feel slightly uncomfortable with that. But look at those returns. Even if they do concede, the amount of chances they're creating and assists they're getting involved in and goals they're scoring almost makes up for that. I don't think if you have any Chelsea player, you'd guaranteed a start. Azpilicueta could easily come in and give James a rest at some point. On the other side, Alonso, who's playing so well in the season, has just been sort of shunted out the way by Chilwell's. But great attacking potential from all of them. And then also you managed to fit Trent in. Wow, that defence is absolutely fantastic. 5 across back, I'm absolutely jealous. That's a defence that I would want. I'm going to give you some other options if you don't want to triple up on that Chelsea defence, but that looks fabulous. So, I mean, just looking at the fixtures, you've got Rudiger. He's got some decent fixtures. I do feel that all 5 of these players are just fixture proof and you would want to start them every week. I just feel there's so much value in that defence across the board in FPL at the moment that's where I'll plough a lot of my money. That looks brilliant. I've got no qualms about it. Would I want to triple up on that Chelsea defence? I'm going to give you other options later on. That would be my only concern. But given how many goals and chances creating goal involvement those players are getting, I don't think I'd mind too much. Moving on to midfield, then let's have a look. Salah, I'm not even going to talk about him. He's just an absolute must. And Bremo, I think you do have to make concessions with this defence and who else going to put in the side. And Bremo looks a reasonable cheap option. Plays every game. Frustrating he's not getting more involved, but his XGI is still pretty good. Have to trust the stats. Fixtures look good as well. I think he's a decent option in midfield. He's playing up front, remember, as well. Rafinha just has to play for me. He's a set and forget. It's just frustrating. He misses out so many times. But when he does get goal involvements, they tend to be goals. So that's always more points for us FPL managers. Gallagher, again, he's been an absolute shining star this season so far. 0.71. That's a brilliant XGI for someone who's costs only 6 million. 4 goals, 5 assists, chipping in every game. Again, all these 3 players along the bench here, they're players that you wouldn't mind putting on the bench because of the cost they got. But at the same time, they're all capable of bringing returns. And then Smith Rowe falls in the same bracket as well. Arsenal's fixtures this week look good at home to Newcastle. Then it gets slightly harder away at Manchester United. But again, 0.3. And as a cheap midfield option, I think he looks really good as well. I do have long-term reservations over his potential scoring ability. XGI is not up there with the rest of them, perhaps overperforming, but for 5.8, you know what, he's still a good option. Looking at the fixtures, and Salah's just look brilliant. He's always a captaincy option, and Buemo's, like we said before, look pretty good as well. Rafinha's short term look good. Then there's possibly a benching or two there. Looking at the Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool fixtures, Gallagher's look fantastic, and Smith Rowe's there is a real mixed bag. Some difficult, some not so difficult. But remember, you do have to bench 1 or 2 of these players, so someone's got to miss out every week. With that side so far, then let's look at an attack. Harry Kane, his fixtures look brilliant. We know how potent and dangerous he could be in the past. Last season, just an example, but 1 goal, 1 assist, no question. We can't sit here and say he's been a phenomenon this season. He hasn't. His expected goal involvement doesn't look great. But under Conte with those fixtures, it's difficult not to bring him into the side. I think he's, of all the options, he's possibly right up there, and I would like to bring him in if it was me. You have to make concessions, guys, with this side. You've got some great premium players. That defence is amazing. Hwang, 5.8, 4 goals, no assists, a reasonable XGI, but plays every week for a Wolves team that do have some decent fixtures, which we'll see. And then lastly, again, another budget option, but 5.2, cheap, 4 goals, 5 assists. Again, as a Watford player, you don't mind putting him on the bench, but again, he's just producing the goals. His XGI is only 0.44, but he's overperforming in terms of what he's producing. He's only played 11 games and he's got 9 goal involvements. Fixtures-wise, looking at for Harry Kane, possibly a captaincy candidate over Salah. Hwang, again, good fixtures in the next 2 games. Dennis looks poor in the next 3, but you could easily bench him for that price and then pick him up after when Hwang's fixtures change. So that could dovetail quite nicely. But for this side, I think those 2, you have to have some concessions, guys. You have to bring in 1 or 2 budget players, and this is where it is up front. But the rest of the side just looks incredible. So looking at the side in its entirety, there it is. I think it will be. I'd struggle to look who to bench out of that team. I'm hugely jealous of that defence. It just looks phenomenal. I'll be playing those 5 definitely every week. And then you've got the likes of Salah, Kane, Rafinha, Gallagher and Buemo. Difficult to know who to drop most of the times. Cost just under 101 million, so it's affordable to most people. But we can go through some other options if you want in a second as to who else you could bring in. So other options, if you were unsure about some of those midfielders, in particular, Cornet offers a good attacking threat. He's scoring goals more than assisting, but that's where the points are for us midfielders. So that's what we like. 6.1, not the cheapest, not the most expensive either. Any doubts is Burnley, are they scoring enough goals? And also he just doesn't seem to be getting 90 minutes, but that could be just Sean Dyche easing him in because he has had some injury problems since he started for Burnley. Bernardo Silva playing every weekend of Pep, real favourite, seems to be nailed in that midfield. 7.2. If you save money elsewhere in the side, which we'll look at in a minute, he could be a really good option for Manchester City with their fixtures. Vardy could be one way of saving. You could go to Kane to a Vardy upgrade, something like a Smith Rowe to a Silva. Vardy, he's not fine at the moment, but remember, he's on penalties, he plays every game. Leicester do create chances, and you just feel it's a matter of time before someone of his pedigree will start scoring those goals. Looking at the overall picture for Vardy, he's still got a lot of goals this season, 7 in 12. That's a really good return, even by his standards. Another one you could go for is Wembanyama. Just take maybe a 1-game punt, bring him in for the Newcastle game, then maybe flip across to Ronaldo by saving the money, or to Kane. Always an option again on pens. Plays every minute for Arsenal. Finally, Jota, 7.5. So you could again move to a Jota by saving money on the Vardy and Wembanyama. Playing up front while Firmino's out, there will be a longer term worry for me in terms of minutes, but for short term, he looks like a really good option playing for that Liverpool side. Great fixtures at home to Southampton this weekend. Not one to be overlooked. I like any of these players, really. Defensively, if we have a look at one of those, if you didn't want to triple up on the Chelsea defence, and I myself would be slightly nervous about going all in on him, I think Rudiger could be the one for me to come out. I think his place is as nailed as it can be on Tuchel, but then I think James and Chilwell are getting all the minutes as well. So they're all prone to being rotated. So just purely because of his attacking threat being less, I think Rudiger would come out for me. Options, you've got then Kyle Walker, playing for Man City, getting really praised by Pep, saying he's playing the best he's known him to play under him. So 5.5 saves money, good fixtures for Man City. Then you've got Kilman, played every minute for Wolves. They've got a brilliant expected goals conceded. They're one of the best in the division. So 4.5 saves you a lot of money. That could possibly move you to a Jota or someone like even a Cornet or even Bernardo in midfield. So that would be an interesting movie. They've got Norwich coming up at the weekend again, so good fixtures for them. Finally, could Reguilon be having a bit of a renaissance under Conte at Tottenham? Scored obviously in the last weekend. Difficult to know at this moment in time whether or not Tottenham are going to, what sort of side and identity they're going to have under Conte, but he could be one worth taking a punt on. Again, saves money. Good differential. We know how attacking he potentially can be. Conte can get the best out of him. He seems fairly nailed in that fullback position as well. He could be a really good differential. That's it for this one, guys. Thanks for subscribing if you have done so. If you haven't done already, click on that button, hit the like, give me any comments below. I hope that's been of some help for you for Game Week 13. We got team selection, transfer tips coming up. In the meantime, take care. Speak to you soon.